Welcome to another tutorial from Valentia Photography Workshops. This one is about how to fix an overexposed image in Adobe Lightroom. Hi and welcome to another video tutorial with me, Stephen Power. And just a quick request before we start. I know you're getting fed up with these, but if you could subscribe to the channel, it will help me to keep creating more tutorial videos for you. In a previous video, I talked about correcting tones and exposure using Photoshop and Lightroom. And I said that I would look more into fixing this overexposed image in Lightroom, as it needed a bit more work than just moving the histogram in the level slider or in the histogram itself in Lightroom. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to look at another image as well which is overexposed and see how we can fix them to some extent in Adobe Lightroom Classic. The first thing to say about overexposed photographs is that they are very difficult to fully correct, and sometimes impossible depending on the exposure amount and the tone that's exposed. If you expose or overexpose a white tone too far, it just won't have any data left, if you like, in the image, in the pixels to come back, and it's just gone. So when you're out photographing, if you take a photograph and you look at it and you think, well, I need to edit that again because of the lighting conditions or the tones in the scene, and you feel that you might have to do some more work on it, make sure that you've at least got an underexposed image. If you can't get the perfect exposure, go for underexposure to ensure that at least there will be some tones in the image that you can bring back later. So let's have a look at this image, and the first thing I'm going to do is go to the histogram in the develop module, and you can see on the left hand side, in the left hand corner, these are the dark tones, the blacks. And I'm going to click and drag the histogram over to the left until we pull the start of the curve rather than a flat line into the corner of the histogram. And that's already reduced the exposure in this image. The next thing I'm going to do is pull down the highlights and see if that makes a difference. So it's softening the brightness a bit in the image. Then I'll pull down the shadows a bit just to see if we can dull those down. And this isn't working too badly at all. I'm going to go into the graduated tool, which is this rectangular shape just under the histogram, the graduated filter tool, and pull that down so the black spot is just below the area that I want to affect. In this case, the mountains. I'm going to pull down the highlights again. It's made some difference. Pull down the shadows. And here I'm going to try the clarity slider. Take that up just to bring out the contrast a little bit. Maybe the texture, because the mountains take those up. And I found sometimes the dehaze slider works quite well to bring out the contrast. So that's done quite nicely there. Then I'm going to come to the bottom of the image, which is looking a bit dark actually. We pulled it down a bit too far. So again, the graduated filter tool, I'm going to pull that up to just over the area of the boat. And now lift the shadows a little bit, just to brighten those up a little bit. And I think this area of the trees is a little bit shadowy. So here I'm going to use the adjustment brush tool. Make sure that everything is zeroed that we don't want. Lift the shadows a bit again and just try and paint over those tree areas just to lift them slightly. This is never going to be perfect. We might just try and lift the boat a little bit, but it's an improvement, I think, just lifting that area of the shoreline there. It's an improvement. What I don't like in any photograph is where there's just a little bit of sky, perhaps in this case just above the mountains, because it detracts the eye from the scene. So I'm going to go into the crop tool, make sure the aspect ratio is locked, and just pull the whole thing down so that just out of the range of the sky, but I can't really get any higher than that in this case. But you can see that does make a difference, I think, especially to this top area. And that's about it. So, we were lucky in this instance that it actually lended itself to fixing and reducing in the tones, and it's not too bad. If we look at the before and after, we can see that there's quite a big difference there. I hope you found that helpful. If so, please leave me a comment below or a question if you have one, and I'll see you next time at Valentia Photography Workshops.